Today on Riffs, Beards, and Gear, we check out the Liverpool Compressor from Grove Hill Audio. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I am here with my good friend, Jason Lackie from Fastback Studios.
Hello.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Jason. The reason why Jason is on today's episode of Riffs, Beards, and Gear is because he is very, very familiar with the Grove Hill Audio Liverpool Compressor, and he's actually used it a whole bunch at Fastback. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to have my good buddy Jason come down and explain some stuff to you guys to really get a grasp on what this is, and then we're going to turn around. We're not going anywhere. We're just going to turn around, and then we're going to put some vocal tracks from my boy Tanner through this thing, and we're going to try some different settings and check it out, see how it sounds. So what is this based off of?
So it's based off of the old Altec 436. And so the original, when, think Beatles era, Abbey Road, and EMI Studios, and basically they used the Fairchilds, and they used the Altecs. But the problem with the Altecs was always that the attack time was a little slow, and they would like to hammer it a lot, of course. And
sure.
So you'd hear that big thump initially when when the compressor grabbed.
Okay.
And then on the end of it, when the song is over at the end of the part, you'd hear because it was hitting so hard, you're getting 20, 30 dB of gain reduction, you'd hear the compressor lift.
Oh, wow.
And so what they did is they added these, the hold feature on it for the RS-124, and allows you to first set the threshold and then basically get as much gain reduction as you want, or get the sound that you want, and then you don't have that initial thump or that thwack at the beginning, and you don't have the compressor lifting off of the end.
Now this is a tube compressor.
It is a tube compressor.
This is not a solid state compressor, kids. This is a heavy, warm. I just had it plugged in, and it's still pretty warm.
Yeah.
And this is a beefy unit.
It is, and I like to think of it as like more than just a compressor for dynamic control, but also as more of a tone shaping box.
Yes, because there is a tone, there is a voicing, there is a sound to tube compressors, and this one
for sure,
in particular, which you will hear in just a moment. This is super cool. My first impressions are it feels very, very good. The knobs feel tight. They're not loose. Like I said before, it's really heavy. It's actually much heavier than I was anticipating.
Yeah.
In a very good way.
The iron and the tubes.
Yeah, this is cool. And as you guys will soon hear, it sounds really cool as well. So let's get to the vocal track, shall we?
All right.
So I'm going to play you a track that you guys have heard before in a previous demo video. The tune didn't have vocals originally, but the Rest Proposed vocalist, Tanner, decided to do me a huge solid and record a raw track. It's just a little short passage. Now what you're going to hear is an unaffected vocal. Now the vocal bus has a little bit of reverb and a tiny bit of EQ, but there's no compression going on the vocal, and you will probably not be able to hear it. But here's what it sounds like before we run it through the Liverpool. Okay, so like I said, you couldn't hear it before. Now we have already run the initial track through the Liverpool, and we went for more of a kind of a little bit of an aggressive leveling to get the vocal to pop and to get it to kind of sit in the mix fairly well.
Medium stuff.
Medium, it's not super aggressive, but this will give you a good idea of the settings that you would use maybe while tracking going in. Yeah. Maybe not quite this aggressive, but kind of ballpark of what you would use on tracking a vocal going into your project.
Yeah.
So that's what this sounds like. So what do you want to do next?
Well, I'd like to get a little bit more...
Can we get more aggressive?
A little bit more aggressive, yeah.
Okay, we're going to get more aggressive and then run that track through again, and we'll play it back again, this time with even more aggression.
Yeah.
Kind of. Not really.
I want to hit the tubes a little harder.
Okay, we're going to hit them pretty hard. Okay, through the magical wonder of post and editing in the editing bay, which is actually right here where I'm sitting, we have gone ahead and run the vocal through the compressor using these settings right here. And now we're getting really aggressive. We're getting pretty aggressive with the vocal.
Yeah.
We're looking for a nice levelness and with a little bit of squish. I think the tubes are kind of starting to almost think about starting to break up maybe a little bit.
So the way this thing is wired up is you got the input transformer, then the input gain control, and then the tube. So the more you hit the input stage, the more you get compression out of the tube.
I think you can hear that quite a bit.
Yeah, definitely. And I have it set to hold right now, slow attack, and I have it set to hold. So basically it's getting, once it gets up to the highest level, it'll hold that threshold, and then it'll never come back down, so you won't hear the compressor pump.
Okay. All right, so here's how it sounds in the mix, and then I'm going to isolate the vocal halfway through so you can kind of hear what's going on by itself.
No control, I hide my head. Puppets on a string, holding on. Oh, when life will break when you are gone.
That is getting pretty aggressive.
Yeah. But I think it fits his voice, and people that want to use like a decapitator, that want to use kind of harmonic saturation type stuff, are gonna love this.
So now can we do like I like to call it the Chris Cornell, the Soundgarden Super Unknown, the actual distorted. So we're gonna drive the preamp tubes or the tubes into distortion, and there's gonna be some breakup. But it's lovely breakup. Yeah. So we're gonna do that next. Okay, through the magic of post, we have now run Tanner's vocal through the Grove Hill Audio Liverpool, and we've done a Soundgarden-esque, dirty, distorted. It sounds so lovely.
I turned the input gain all the way up. I turned the threshold off because we're getting compression from the tube.
Right.
Anyhow, and then slow attack, fast release, which a fast release is going to give it a little bit of distortion anyways. So, and then I got the output all the way down because we're getting plenty of level.
All right. So here's how it sounds. I'll turn it off and on again. We'll kind of punch in and out of the mix. I will point out that I haven't actually mixed the vocal to sit in the rest of the song quite yet, but you'll just get a feeling of what the vocal is doing this time around.
Puppets on a string, holding on. Oh, when life will break when you are gone.
That is so lovely.
Yeah.
You cannot do that with a non-tube compressor. Not like that.
Yeah, it's really easy to get there with this, and it just it has a pleasing distortion to it.
Yeah, very harmonically rich and lovely.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna wrap it up here. That's pretty good. I think I've shown you guys a few different settings for the Liverpool. Actually, I haven't shown you any settings. Jason has shown you some settings. Thank you, sir.
Well,
I really appreciate your classiness. He classed up the joint quite a bit.
I can turn a knob or two. Just as well as another guy.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys for watching. And if you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. You've been wonderful. I have been Fluff. He's been Jason. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.